This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it's time for Grief BeLIEF. I want to start out today's segment with a little bit of maybe semi-religious information. Christy, I've been working with you, and I'm proud of that you have been my grief counselor. And I realized the other day why I'm coming back for a second session. In the mail, I got this little card that I get from the funeral home that helped us bury my mother, reminding me that her memorial date is coming up on September 27th. Except my mother passed away on October 11th. But in the Jewish religion, you remember the deceased on the day they left this earth. And it really got to me every year, almost 2 weeks apart, almost every year. I'm remembering the loss. But this year I'm remembering it differently. And I have to say thank you as a grief counselor that I'm finding the good that there was. So this is the first year that when I got it, my first reaction was I wanted to cry. The next reaction was, I have so much to remember. And you all have sort of taught me that. And our guest today, Gabriella Greco, I know so many of her friends, but this is the first time we are meeting face to face.
Yes, very true.
And what got me to want to have you on is how you have been dealing with so much grief in the past year.
Yes.
And yet the positive vibes you have sent to all of us on Facebook.
Wow, thank you.
So tell us a little bit about you and about the wonderful glow in your life.
Oh, well, so first of all, the reason I had that visceral response when you were talking about your mother's memorial date is because that is the day that my grandmother passed away, September 27th. And wow, where do I start? I think I will start with a little backstory leading up to Glow's passing, I guess. What many don't know, but also what many do know, is that my younger sister, Francesca, was in the fight of her life, literally, for 3.5 years. And it was very egregious. We didn't know which way was up 9 times out of 10. And that was because she was in need of a life-saving double lung transplant. And she, after 6 what they call dry runs, which is where the hospitals call and say that there's organs, and then they find something that's not viable about them, on May 11th, 2022, it was Mother's Day weekend. I just happened to be in North Carolina visiting for Mother's Day, and at the 11th hour, and it's so interesting that you started it too with the facet of, a religious viewpoint, because, in the Catholic tradition and Christian traditions, as I was raised Italian Catholic, the 11th hour, the angel number, God's never not on time. It's always God's time, right? And so literally at 11 o'clock at night on May 11th, we received a phone call from the surgeon at Duke, where she was. She had been listed with the University of Pennsylvania as well as Columbia University Hospital in New York City. But the reason she ended up at Duke is that she was getting sicker, and Duke was always the last option, if you will, if the other hospitals were not serving the purpose that she needed to live. So we found ourselves at Duke. We were grappling at straws. It was the last option, if you will. And on May 11th at 11 p.m., the phone rang and the surgeon said, "I have your lungs. You need to be at the hospital by 7:30. And I said to the surgeon, I said, Dr. Haney, I now know him as Dr. Haney. I said, if this is for real this time, because I can't, no, I just can't go through this again, sir. Like, if this is legit, the deal is you are FaceTiming me and right before she's being brought back to surgery, because I didn't want to go to the hospital. I didn't want to be there until I knew for sure that my sister was getting her lungs, because truly I just was in such an emotional roller coaster and such this space of, fight or flight and grief, really just grief of grappling with the very real realization that I would probably not grow older with my sister, who was 29 years old at the time. So I just could not take any more. And so I said, if this is a go, you FaceTime me, you tell me that my sister's getting lungs. And so sure enough, at 1:30 in the afternoon, my phone rang and it came up as my sister's number. So I thought she was calling to tell me that it was another dry run. And it was Dr. Haney, and he said, we're wheeling your sister back for surgery. She's getting her lungs today. And I can't even describe what that grief journey has been, because it's now been 1 year. It was 1 year as of May 12th, 2023. And in the interim of that year, we not only lost my grandmother, and I'll get to that story after, who was the actual like core of who I am. I mean, I love my mother more than anything, but my mother and I were just two very different people. And there have been times of tremendous challenge. I don't mean it negatively, just I would venture to say that all mothers and daughters have had that. But for me, Gloria Glow, my grandmother, Nani, she was just always that person who just deeply understood me. And she was just that person that I always felt safest with and knew that I could do absolutely anything as long as she was next to me. It was that level. And I will, again, I'll go back to that story in a minute, but we lose my grandmother, but at the same time, we are united with my sister's donor and her family, which in itself is another level of grief, because it's like now you have this, you feel this almost survivor's guilt for this family you never met, but you're so grateful because their son is the reason why your sister's, breathing literally. And not only that, but, I grew up with mild cerebral palsy, right? And I vividly remember one day my mother, I really do believe has some level of clairvoyancy. I know that's a woo woo topic, but like she's just that way. And Glow had it too. But we were driving one day in North Carolina, and she stops the car, and I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, what if your sister's donor has cerebral palsy? And I was like, what? Why would you even, why would you? And I got angry. I was like, why would you even say that? Why? And she's like, I don't know, Gabriella. I have a feeling. And I was like, Mom, you can't talk like that. Like, you cannot, like, stop it. Sure enough, Bradley had cerebral palsy and was in a wheelchair. And his parents, Tony and Vicky, and I just also want to preface this with, like, they are totally fine with me talking about this, like, because it is such a sensitive topic. But Vicky is very adamant about sharing this story and sharing, about Bradley and all of that. So, they're just the most beautiful, faith-fueled, graceful people. Like, I if it was me, and it is me in a way, but it's not me at the same time. There's been days where I've literally have just wanted to go under the covers and not want to talk to anybody. And here's this woman who literally lost her only son, and she gets up every single day with a smile on her face and chooses joy and chooses love and chooses to recognize that her son's purpose was way beyond anything she could have ever hoped for. And she has an understanding and an acceptance that Bradley was not meant for earthly purpose. His purpose was beyond. And so all of that to say that here we are 1 year later, and we go through the process of Francesca getting the lungs, which, I mean, it's surreal. It is surreal. And as I was waiting in the waiting room at 7 West, the pulmonary, intensive cardiac pulmonary intensive care unit in Duke, North Carolina, when you get, because the doctor, they had been updating us with text messages. And so when Dr. Haney texts from the operating room, he said, the first lung is in. I was like, I don't know where to put myself. I completely lost it. I don't know if it was just the 3.5 years of just, hanging on so tightly to survive to the sense of survival for my sister. I don't know what it was, but I lost my mind. I was hysterical. And the only person I knew that I could call that could really ground me and center me was Gloria, my grandmother. And so I called her, and she was the type of person where you didn't have to say anything. She already knew, and she would just sit in silence with you if that's what you needed. And I just never anticipated that a week after my sister got home from Duke, that we would be literally sledgehammered with the reality that she had metastasized stage 4 cholangiocarcinoma cancer. And you have to understand something, Gloria. My mom had a conversation yesterday, and one of her best friends summed up Glo perfectly. She was like, there are grandmothers, but then there was Gloria. And Gloria, and I say this so not pretentiously, so humbly, so proud in a way too, I guess, that she was stunningly gorgeous. My grandmother was stunning, like just, she'd walk in a room, and I mean, I had friends my age, I'm 35, who were like, your grandmother's so hot. I'm like, okay, that's just weird. That is just that. It's like, no, your grandmother's so gorgeous. So she radiated this beauty, this physical beauty, but also that was just a testament to her internal beauty, because she just was just beautiful in every way. And as my mom's friend was saying, she was like, again, there's Gloria, and then there's regular grandmothers, and then there's Gloria. Like, she was fit, she was in the gym 5 days a week, she was a successful real estate broker, like a titan. Like, she was one of the top female brokers before it was acceptable for females to even do anything. Like, she broke the glass ceiling in every way, and she just was vibrant and full of life, and she just loved us kids. There was 5 of us, right? She loved us so intentionally, and she did everything she possibly could to be there for all of us in our own unique ways, and met our own unique needs. And just so to say that, this loss of her, I said it to my grief counselor and my aunt, actually, my mom's sister. I said, I really do. And I've had a lot of wonderful, beautiful, incredible life moments. Okay. But this is hands down, even more so than my sister's transplant. This is the #1 life event where I physically felt part of myself leaves and change and shift. I can't explain it any other way. I felt part of my soul, part of my being just leave. And that might be, because, and I'm sorry if there's no fluidity to this. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm all over the place
No,
right
that's
now.
okay. Absolutely.
And I'm talking a lot and I talk a lot, and that's okay. So if you want me to stop at any point or you want to interject, please do so. But I think the gravity of that too is that I was the one who, yes, it was a collective family effort. I will not discredit where credit is not due, but in the final week of her life, where it was decided, because first of all, there was no way she was receiving chemotherapy. She made that. She's like, my grandchildren. No, she goes, I am too vain. Like, my grandchildren, I am not having my grandchildren see me bald. Like, that's not up for discussion. So we had been waiting to see if she would be approved for immunotherapy, which from what I understand, that means they use your own body cells to try to fight the cancer. And her oncologist came in, and that's it. Just for time reference, from when she was diagnosed to when she passed, it was 4 weeks. So we had just come off the roller coaster of my sister living literally, and now the number one person in my life is dying. Like, what kind of messed up, what are you trying to tell me here, universe? What is this, right? So we were waiting on the immunotherapy, and the oncologist told her, he said, when I became a doctor, I took an oath. And if you were my mother, if you were my grandmother, any of that, my sister, my aunt, he said, I would be doing more harm than good. He said, so you have the option, because she was in the hospital at the time, because she had some secondary infections, and, that she was on antibiotics for. And he said, we can finish out here, or, because she was still very lucid, she was still Gloria in every way. He says, or you can go home on hospice and be with your family and be with, whatever time you have left. And so she very gracefully, very dignity fueled, integrity fueled, said, nah, I'm going to go home and I'm going to be with my family. And because she was so healthy otherwise, and she was so vibrant and so fit and just had such life force, literally, we all thought, we're like, oh, she's got like 6 months. We're just going to hang out. She's got 6 months. We're going to make new memories. Like, Gloria, G-Rider, we called her. We had so many nicknames for her. We're like, you're going to be fine. And like, we even were like, if there's anyone who's going to like defy the odds and beat this and come out like with her full head of hair, looking gorgeous with her lipstick, it's going to be her. Like, there is, so much to my literal shock. I mean, she went home on hospice, all of us, celebrating her going on, because that's what she didn't want, the doom and gloom. She didn't want the attention. She didn't want it to be a whole big thing. So we chose joy, and we were like, all right, Gloria, you got this, And I had settled into my head that I was going to come home whenever I could to see her, but she was going to be fine. This was on September 16th, September 19th. My mother called me. Oh, she kept blowing up my phone. She kept calling. I wasn't answering because I was busy doing something. And she's like, and then my sister was like, you need to call mom now. Oh, fuck, excuse my language. And so I called her, and she was like, Gabriella, you need to sit down. And I said, what? She's like, Nani slipped into a coma last night. And, oh, I'm sorry. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She slipped into a coma. And she said she fell asleep and she's not waking up. And they're pretty sure she's not going to wake up. They don't know how much time she has, but they don't think it's going to be very long. You need to come home. And for me, you have to understand, growing up with Gloria, I admired her. I idolized her. Like I couldn't believe that I shared DNA with such a dynamic woman. And I idolized her. I idolized her, and she would get so mad at me all the time because she didn't like the attention, because she was humble. And I would just say, you're gorgeous. And I'd always say, oh, there she is. Anytime I saw her, I'd be like, there she is. Be like, hi, gorgeous. And she'd be like, shut up, Gabe. Shut up. Stop. But I know secretly she loved it. And Gloria, what many people don't know, and I'm sure she won't mind me sharing this, is she too had a very challenging relationship with her mother. And I know, as sure as my name, that the one thing that she wanted was to know that she was needed and loved. And I know that that is something, and she was a very private woman and very, like I said, dignified and integrity. And you didn't talk about that, but I knew her so well. And we had such a bond, and we had such a knowing and understanding of one another, that she opened up to me about a lot. And I just knew that she always just needed to know that she was loved and needed. And so I come home, I'm on the airplane, and I'm just still in my mind, I'm like, this is not happening. Like, I thought I was gonna walk into her house, she's gonna greet me at the garage like she always did, and say, hey, Gabe. And we pulled up, and I just remember just this silence, and but peace. It was a very strange thing. And I walk in, and the lights are dim, and that's so not her. You walk in her house, there's sunflowers, there's lights, and it was dark and dim and silent. And the family was there, and everyone was crying, and I just was like, what? And I just was like, I literally was like, where is she? And they're like, she's in her room, and she looks like she's sleeping, but she's probably not going to make it through the night. Okay. So I go in, and she's there. And the night I landed, talk about divine intervention, truly. Okay. The night I landed, my mother got COVID. So my mother, Flo's daughter. Now remember the dynamic of the women in my family. Like, it's just like that's how she wanted it. She wanted it to be that way, I guess. So my mother goes into isolation. My aunt, her sister, full nervous breakdown, can't handle it. Don't blame her, right? Literally says to me, I need you to be the one to be with hospice. I need you to take care of her. What? She ended up hanging on for another week. Of course she did, because they said that her heart and her lungs were so strong that she didn't want to let go. And I laid with her every day, literally laid on the same pillow with her every day for 7 days straight. And I brushed her hair, and I put on her mascara, and I put on her lipstick, and I said, I'll be damned if she's in a coma, and we're not going to brush her hair, and we're not going to put her lipstick on, and we're not going to put her, eyelash, like, no. Like, that's still happening. And it was the most beautiful week of my entire life. It was the most gut-wrenching week of my life. But it was also just such a testament. And I can say this now, it'll be a year, September 27th. And I recognize now that it was a testament to that bond she and I always shared.
Oh, beautiful.
And truly. And yeah, I can't describe it. The night before she died, transitioned. I like transitioned better. Transitioned. I was talking to her per usual, and I was like, Chloe, I need a sign. Like, just Gloria, just give me something right now. And I mean, I was disgusted. We weren't showering. It just was, you were in it, and there just was no time for anything but 24/7 care. And I was helping to bathe her and just all of it. And I'm like, Gloria, I just need something. I need to know. And so that night, excuse me, my mom's dog is barking. He's upon right hand. If you hear that, I'm sorry. He I said, I just want to see a rainbow, right? I don't know why I said rainbow, but I want to see a rainbow. So I end up going for a walk. It was raining. She loved the rain. That was the other thing. She loved the rain. It rained all 7 days. She was in her coma. It rained every day. And so I went for a walk in the rain. I came back. They had allowed one of her coworkers, Diana, to come to see her. And the first thing out of Diana's mouth was, Gabriella, did you see the rainbow behind the house? And I said, excuse me, what? Because I didn't see it because I had come from around the other way. I said, she goes, there's a massive rainbow behind the house right now. And she's like, it's unlike any rainbow I've ever seen. She goes, I was so taken by it, I had to take a picture. And so she took a picture and showed it to me. And I looked like this at my grandmother. I was like, okay, all right, there it is. And then that night, I dreamt of her. And she was sitting, we had this chair in her room where people could sit and pray with her, pray over her. And, and she was in the chair, but she was dressed like she was going to work. And I looked at her, but she was still like, her body was still next to me, right? And I look at her. I said, what are you doing over there? This was my dream. What are you doing over there? She goes, well, I could say the same thing about you. And I said, what are you talking about? She goes, I've already left. And I said, no, you haven't. I said, you're right here. She goes, no, I left. So sure enough, 4 a.m., September 27th, I went to give her medicine because we were keeping her comfortable. And yeah, she had passed. And I think the most profound moment of my entire life was when I realized that she had passed. And I put my hand on her chest and on her heart. And I just said, okay. I said, okay. And I said, thank you for everything. Just thank you. And I will do my best and I'll be okay. And this is horrible. And I can't believe you're leaving me here. But okay. And then I crawled into bed with her and I laid with her for 30 minutes. And then I realized, I was like, oh shit, she's dead. I got to go wake up the house. I have to go tell everybody she's gone. Like, okay. And so yeah. And the very magical part of it too, her birthday was February 7th, 27, right? And so I instinctively knew. I said, because she would always say, there's always a twist, Gabe. There's always a twist, right? When you think something's a certain way, there's always a twist. And so I instinctively knew. I said, she's going on the 27th. Because the 27, that's her birthday. She's going out with a bang. Like, and 7 was her lucky number. And so she was 77 when she passed. She would kill me if I admitted her age. She was 77 when she passed on September 27th. And the gravity of the number 7 is that as time went on and we started putting the pieces together, Francesca came home on August 7th. Okay. Francesca, just the numbers, there's just been 7 everywhere. And so it's been an unspeakable grief journey. there have been days where I've just literally just screamed at the top of my lungs. In fact, yesterday I had a moment and I was literally walking, no one was home, and I just got slammed with the grief. And I was walking around my mother's house, literally saying out loud, Gloria, excuse my language, why the fuck did you leave? Where are you? Like, where are you? Why did you leave me here? Why am I having to do this without you? Because we made a pact when I was a little girl that she would never leave me. She would never leave me because I used to get scared a lot. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I used to get scared a lot. And when I would get scared, I would always go to her and I would crawl in bed with her and I would be next to her. And even as an adult, like anytime I got scared, I would call her and she would say, whenever you're scared, listen to the rain, because she loved the rain. And so, yeah, yesterday I was just having a hard time because she told me she would never leave me. And I just was feeling that. I was feeling the physical loss for a myriad of reasons. But yeah. So
You know, I'm watching Christy, Carol, and Candace, and we're all choking up, and they're trained in grief counseling. I am not. And I'd love to hear some of their feedback, because you have every right, obviously, to feel what you feel.
Yeah.
And sharing it with us, I think, is a gift.
Yes, and you know who I have to credit that to? And I don't like to name drop, but I'm going to say it because she and her wife have just been the most, and I share bits and pieces, but I keep a lot of our relationship very private for obvious reasons. But she's just been like, when my sister first got sick, my mother loves Melissa Etheridge. And so when my sister was really dying, like it was bad, we were all in the throes of COVID. And I was desperate because, and I think maybe part of me thought that somehow Melissa was going to save my sister. It just was, grief makes you think crazy things, right? And so I wrote to Melissa on Twitter, of all places, because I have a long spanning career in entertainment and working administratively and supporting a lot of amazing artists that I admire. And I'm a singer myself. And, you know, the industry's been very good to me. It's also not been very good to me. And it's been a long, expansive thing. And so normally I would go the route of finding the manager or finding the publicists and, you know, being respectful. And but we were in COVID. I'm like, you know what? And I knew that Melissa was very active on Twitter. And so I shot her a private message. And I was like, you know, you don't know me, but here's our story, essentially. And within an hour and a half, she wrote me back. And she was like, yes, this is me. Whatever you need. Can you get on a Zoom call with me and my wife? And I wasn't starstruck. It wasn't that. It was like, oh, whoa, okay, what? Okay. My grief mind was like, oh, okay, so maybe Melissa is going to save my sister. Like, that sounds so silly, but like, that's where my mind went. And so I got on Zoom with Melissa and her wife, and we talked for 20 minutes before we even got to the reason of why I am asking her to help me, really. And it just was this, you know, there's just these people in your life, regardless of status, regardless of anything, where it's out of our control. It's in divine order, universal plan, and your souls recognize each other, right? And it's profound, and you just instantly know. And that's what it was. And I think in retrospect now, like, the universe knew that for whatever reason, I needed Melissa and Linda to be my earth angels during, because I also had got stuck in California. I wasn't living there. I got stuck there. Okay. And I knew nobody. I didn't really know anybody. I didn't know. And then COVID and my sister and da 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 and all of that. And so Melissa and Linda and I just forged this incredible bond. And as I'm sure you know, or maybe you don't know, Melissa lost her son Beckett to opioid abuse disorder in 2020. He was 20 years old. And Melissa really helped me to understand my grief. She held space for my grief. There were weeks where I was texting and talking to Melissa more than I was my own family. Okay. And she shared something with me so beautiful that it's literally what I think has helped me to accept Glow's passing, I guess. But before I share that, I don't want to cut you guys off. I want you to say what you have to say. Sorry, I talk a lot. There's a lot here.
I love your story. Thank you so much for sharing it. It is just, it's beautiful and it's heart-wrenching. It's brutal.
Beautiful. I'm stealing that.
That's Glennon Doyle's, but yes, it's brutal. But thank you so much for just being so honest and open. And I think that it does make a difference for other people to hear other people's stories.
Yes.
I that so much.
Yes. And I mean, do y'all being the grief experts, do you have any, because I find there are some days where I just feel lost, like just a lost little girl. And I just want to scream it and that's the other thing. I grew up, for me, expression and putting it out there, writing and sharing about Glow helps me. Seeing her pictures help me. I love seeing her. I love talking about her. I love writing about her. But there's that other side of me where I have had a lot of people, okay, misinterpret my intention and think that they can claim what that experience has been and other life experience, and they silence me, and you're dramatic, and you don't need to be saying all of this, and you don't need to be doing this, and you don't need to be doing that, and you're embarrassing the family, you're embarrassing, and just the undermining and the dismissiveness and the submissiveness that I feel that I have to go into at times. But sometimes for me, that's the only way I can get it out, is to share it, and so I don't know, again, you are all the experts. Is there any insight or advice that
Gabriella, the beauty is that you are sharing it, and the beauty of it is, as you well know, everyone grieves differently.
Yes.
But you are embracing your grief as you know how to grieve, and you've reached out. By reaching out and finding those that could help support you, there's a beauty in that too. And I am speaking for myself, and I do believe that I'm speaking for all of us when we say the importance here is that you have been able to express it. You're finding those that you can express it with.
Yes.
And that's part of what all this is about. Grief BeLIEF is letting other people know that you are not alone in your grief, and that your story is of the utmost importance to all of us. We all share that, however different it is, but we share that pain. And in sharing that pain, we're allowing others to listen, to hear, and to be there for us. And what I find very interesting is you sought out somebody who has lost her son.
Yes.
And knows the depth of pain that you were feeling on a different level.
Yes. Yes. And but see, I met Melissa. This was way before my grandmother passed away. This was when Francesca was dying. And one beautiful thing Melissa shared with me, I had gone with her. She had had a concert in Palm Desert, and she had texted me and said, you know, you're more than what you want to come to the show. I'd love to have you. Da, da, da. So I go, and I brought some friends with me that I had a musician friend who I'd wanted her to meet, who was just so incredibly talented. It's ridiculous. And you know, at this point, we had enough of a bond in a relationship where she knows that I'm not just going to bring anybody to her. But anyway, we're meeting with them, and Melissa looks at me and she said, "Come over here. I wanna have a side conversation. I want to talk to you." Said, "Oh shit, okay. Like, what did I do? Did I do something? You know?" And she's like, "No, no, no." She's like, I wanna," and she opened up about her son, which I never asked, never pried, never, because I respected her grief and respected her space. And I said, if and when she ever felt the need to share or whatever, she'll do that, right? That's her call. It's her son. And she was, "I'm sharing this with you because I see you." And she goes, "And you are clinging so fiercely to this outcome for your sister. You want her to live. 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 And by you doing that, you are not allowing her to fulfill, okay, her universal contract. It's not up to me. It's not up to you. That is the contract she made way before she came into her physical being. And it's not, you can't control that outcome. It's like, so you have to just let go and just allow." And it shifted it for me. And I was like, "Oh my God." And she said, "Because," she goes, "and this is what has helped me with my son is," and everyone has, you know, privy to their own belief, but I believe, and my wife believes, that before we come, we are all spiritual beings having a human experience. And before we come into our physical beings, we make a contract with Source, our creator, God, Jesus, whoever that is. Okay. And that's our contract that we make, ours alone. And she said, "So my son, that was his contract. I may never understand it. I may not know why." She goes, "Yes." Were we devastated? Sure. She goes, "Do I think about him every single second of every single day? Absolutely." She's like, "But he completed his contract and now his soul is able to be free." And she goes, "And I feel him now. I feel him on stage, but I feel him right next to me." And that's what you have to do with your sister. And I said, "Well, what am I going to do, Melissa, if she dies?" I got angry, not at Melissa, but just out of my own, you know, what am I going to do? How am I going to live without her? Like, this is so messed up. It was, "You will. You will." And she goes, "And when the days are tough and you feel like you can't go on and you're feeling the heaviness of that," she goes, "that's when you call me. That's when you reach out to those who know you, who are a safe space, who you can lean on and say, you know what? I'm not dealing today. I'm not dealing. I need something." Little did I know, foreshadowing, little did I know that that would ultimately be a foreshadow for the loss of the number one person besides my sister in my life. But I am telling you right now, it is because of that I recognize now that it's not up to us to decide who's in our lives, why they're in our lives, and when they're in our lives, or what their purpose is. But there must have been some soul knowing deep down that I needed Melissa and we needed each other. I don't know. And it has nothing to do with fame or any of that. It's like, our soul, it was a soul thing, and it is a soul thing. And that advice, I have found myself leaning into that more than I ever thought possible. And I have found myself giving that advice. I actually shared that advice with my sister's donor's mom. Like, how beautiful is that? And then I was on FaceTime with Melissa's wife, and we were talking, and Melissa was in the background, and we were talking about Vicky and Tony and just all of it, and Bradley, Francesca's donor, and like they live in Tennessee. And so I'm like, well, wait a minute. I was like, Melissa, you got a show, right, in Tennessee? She's like, yeah, I sure do. And I was like, wait, why don't we do something for them? And they're like, that's a great idea. And so on July 12th, lucky number 12, July 12th, Melissa and Vicky got to meet. And that was just like, what? Who would have thought when I sent that Twitter message that now the mother of my sister's donor is a guest at Melissa's show. It's so, as tragic and devastating and as heavy as it is such a beauty that you cannot write it, and then I, shortly after Gloria died, it was only a few weeks, so I was in the trenches. I was busted. Melissa had her off-Broadway show, and I went to the opening night. I got invited. I say that humbly. I got invited to opening night, and there was this whole scene, and I had not known this. We had not shared this, but Melissa dedicated an entire scene to the bond that she shared with her grandmother. And the parallels of that bond to my bond with Gloria, I was at the edge of my seat, and I was like, okay, just another star wink. There it is. There it is. Yep. Okay. Wow. Okay. So yeah. I think the hardest part is feeling validated when the grief feels too much. I feel crazy. Like I feel unhinged sometimes. I really do. I feel unhinged, and it's easier for me to just stay off social media, turn my phone off, go under the covers, but then at the same time, I feel like when that happens, I'm giving a disservice to my feelings too, because I shouldn't have to be hiding under the covers, wallowing in it. I should be able to. So yeah, again, I think the hardest part of it all is receiving the validation for the enormity of what I feel. And I'm still processing the grief of my sister. Let's call that for what it is, because it's like, that's a big mind F. Like, okay, sure, you're going to prepare for life without your sister, but actually, psych, no, she's going to live and it's going to be okay. You literally go from the doctors, like her having a living will at 29 years old, to her survive, like just living, like literally just living. And you're like, what? Okay, well, what about all this residual grief from the past 3.5 years? Where's that all going to go? What do I do with that? And I find myself, this is the first time I'm saying this out loud, and I don't mean any disrespect, but I find myself having resentment towards my sister's situation. Not my sister, please don't misunderstand, but the situation. Because it's like, how could you mind fuck me like that? Excuse my language. Like, how? And yeah, I'm rambling now, and I'm sorry, but that's, yeah.
But that's all, isn't that all part of grief?
Yeah. I feel like it's really important to kind of remember when we're grieving that grieving is just all kinds of emotions. And yes, it's important to allow those emotions to happen and yes, not try to push them away and not look at them, but to be able to sit in them, because they're going to change. That's what I find oftentimes people get scared that they're going to get stuck in one emotion.
Yes.
The way emotions work is they just flow. So if you can just I like the way Candace calls it surfing. If you can just surf those emotions, if you can just let them flow through you, another emotion is going to come. So instead of spending a lot of emotional energy trying to push those emotions away and not look at them and not, try to act like they're not there, it's better just to allow them when they come up.
Well, the thing that I'm afraid of, I think, for lack of a better term, Christy, is that once I start, I won't be able to stop because it is so residual and it is so at the surface and it is, but so deep at the same time.
Do you ever sit and journal when that happens and just start writing your emotions? Sometimes even what precipitated it. Did it just come out of the blue, but how you're feeling, and write your words and talk yourself through it?
Yeah. Yeah, I have not tried that really yet. I've been afraid to do that too, because I know once I start, I won't stop because there's so much. There's so much.
Keep going, keep doing, let it flow, let it flow. And even if you just record it, if you don't want to write it or scream it out, yes, let it flow. It's all it's part of your process, and it'll come back, may not come back as frequently as time goes on, but it's there. And it's always right under the surface. You scratch the surface, the pain will always be there.
And especially with my grandmother, that, and I just, because it was so unexpected. There was no prepping for that. That was just like wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Like, this is what it's going to be. And yesterday, I was just like, again, I was like, why did you do this? Why did you leave me? You said you would never leave me. And I got like angry, and I'm like, where are you? Why did you go? Like, I need you.
And yet she's inside you, isn't she?
Oh yeah. I can't tell you how many people, it's the weirdest thing. Since she passed away, how many people have said, oh my God, just like her. Oh my God, you look just like Glo. It's different. You look just like Gloria. It's so weird. And like, I had always been told, yeah, sure, I resemble her, but never, like, people are like, you're her. And like, my little cousin said the other day, he's 8. He's amazing. And he said the other day, and he was very close to Nani, and he's a little boy, and he's, and he said to me, he's like, Belby's my nickname among the family. Don't ask. It's just Belby. And he said, Belby, you're Nani. And I was like, what? He's like, you're Nani. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I don't know. He's like, I can't describe it. He's like, you're just her. You're just her. He's like, I just feel her when I'm with you. And he's like, and you look like her, and you're skinny like her. And and so I take pride, and I'm honored that everyone's reminded of Glo when they look at me or when they're near me. But at the same time, it just sucks. Like,
but Glo is glowing within you.
Yes, Gloria is. Yes, she is. Like, and she'll show up in ways that are so, like, my aunt took the kids to the animal game farm in this area. And she's like, she came back and she's like, you're never going to believe this. And I was like, what? She's like, the big potbelly pig, her name was Gloria.
Oh.
And like, just little moments like that. Like, I went to an art event in Santa Monica with my roommate, and we walk in, and I had just gotten back to California after all of this. I was in a daze. I did not want to do anything. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was just so, literally the only people I spoke to were Melissa and Linda and my roommate. Like, was the only people I was allowing myself to talk to. Because those were the only people that I felt safe with in that moment. But I went to an art thing that my roommate was like, we're getting out of the house. You're coming to an art thing with me. I'm like, no, I'm not. She's like, yes, you are. Shut your mouth. We're coming. You're going. So we get there, and the woman who greets us, she's like, hi, my name's Gloria. And I'm like, what? Like, but and it's those moments where I just have to, and like, just for you now, sharing, Karen, that your mom's memorial is the day she passed. Like, that's not a coincidence.
Well, we've talked about this before in this program, all the connections that we tend to have. And I'd love to have you come back again, because I think our panel has, some ideas maybe for you and suggestions. And as time passes, I think you're going to also be in another place that our audience can actually see, how grief does change.
Yes.
I am so honored that you have shared with us today. And as I follow you on Facebook and you show pictures of Gloria, yes, you do look like her. It is amazing. It is.
Yeah, and I'm just so proud that I was, and that's the thing too. It's like I just want her to be. She worried about me. She did, because living the artist life, Karen, as you know, it's not the most stable. And there have been many times where things have been exorbitantly tight, and you just don't know where the next whatever's going to come from. And so she worried about me a lot, and I just want her to be proud of me, and I want to do her proud, because that's what she deserves, because I am her legacy. I am the direct legacy of my grandmother, and I just want her to be proud of me.
Her memory lives on through you.
Yeah. I've also, side note, I never ever thought that I could miss someone so much. Some days there's just no words for it. It's like I told you earlier, part of me left with her. And I think a lot of that is because I was so intimately involved, and I was the one who was there when she took her last breath, and I was the only one who was there when she took her last breath. And that realization of, while you're still breathing and your heart is still beating and you have your hand on her chest and her heart's not beating, it's indescribable. There's also the recognition of how close we are. There is no separation between life and death. There isn't. It's right there. It's 2 seconds away. It's right there. And it really did. It changed me. So maybe I am also grieving part of myself that left with her.
Possibly.
Well, we will have you back.
Yes.
You are absolutely delightful. And,
thank you. And thank you for asking me. And thank you, because before you asked me, as you know, I just was like, I need something. I am on this struggle freaking bus right now. I need a safe space to channel all of this, because it's so, again, no coincidence that you reached out, and I was like, I'm telling you right now, I was not going to do it. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I didn't want to, even though in my crazy grief mind moments before, I was like, I need something. And then when it was right in front of me, I was like, nope, I'm not going there. But I'm so glad that I did. And I'm so grateful to you. And I'm grateful to you for opening up this community now that I know that I can lean on, and I know that I can continue to heal with. And it just so happens too, tomorrow I have a FaceTime with Melissa's wife, Linda. And so again, no coincidence. It's just,
I love it. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you real soon. Thanks, everybody.
Yes, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
I'll see you. Bye.